Hello.
Everybody. Hey, from Massimo and
Benedetta.
Benedetta. Cool. All right. So welcome to another episode of Bar Arduino Worldwide. We have amazing guests tonight. And yeah, normally there is an intro where we say something funny, but it feels like the world right now is not funny at all.
Nope.
So, the only thing we want to say is that, I don't want to make any political comment. I would just say, I just wish that everybody on this planet just try to make life better for everybody, try to improve the world a little bit. If we all try to do that a bit, the world will be a much better place. So, I don't know, how was your week, Benedetta?
Well, weirdly enough, I got promoted last week. So I'm amidst, all the horrible news. I had a little moment of celebration. But other than that, things have been...
Are you now the dean of NYU?
Not even close. No, maybe in 100 years from now, that will be... I don't even know that I want that job, honestly. But no, I just got promoted to associate, whatever that means in the academic realm. But no.
It's a promotion.
Yes, I'll take it. I'll take it.
Your mom will be proud. She will be talking to her friends.
That is true.
And everything. So, okay.
How about you?
Well, I still have back pain, which is killing me. But thanks to my friend Serena, who gave me this yoga pillow, I can actually sit for a while. And so I want to thank Serena, who is her birthday today.
Oh, happy birthday.
Yeah, it's an interesting time. We're working a lot on this we call it post-COVID-19 type projects, because we launched this competition called Touch Less to More, where the idea is in the future, from now to the future, we will be touching things less. So, everything was touch screens. And now touching, no, everybody, it's not healthy, So how do you reimagine interfaces for the things around you when you should not touch? And so we are doing a lot of those things. And also we were in the news a little bit this week because we have been doing some work with this company called Edge Impulse, who is working on TinyML on the edge. And they basically ported that platform to Arduino. So we had a couple of articles on TechCrunch and a couple of other places about that. So that was something that was super exciting. So yeah.
Awesome.
Yeah, it's hard.
Happening week.
Yeah, hard to celebrate because the mood is generally not exciting. But yeah, I mean, good stuff is happening. So we have a few administrative things to say. So tonight, there is a discount code as usual. I'm just going to try to find the discount code. Boom! The discount code is Stockholm. Is it because I am eating Swedish crackers? I don't know. You will figure it out later.
Or just because Stockholm is a beautiful place.
I love the place. And we'll figure out why it is Stockholm later on. One of our guests has a connection with Stockholm. So the discount code is Stockholm. And today we have three amazing guests. Two amazing guests and one Arduino guest who is going to send us a pre-recorded video of how to do something really cool, how to control your TV from Alexa with Arduino.
Awesome.
So it's a very nice project. So there's some cool stuff, and we have the usual mini Arduino video to tell you something you didn't know.
One quick comment. I feel like that's my job to remind everybody, to people that are watching live, to use the comments to ask questions for our guests or for the things that you see, but also for the people that are not watching this live, to use the comments to the videos for questions that we can try and answer the following week. Or if you have suggestions of things that you would like to see, feel free to share your thoughts so that we can keep that in mind as we plan our next episodes.
Cool. Yeah, thank you for saying that, because I keep forgetting.
I feel like it's my job. It's like if I can contribute in one way, that's now the one thing I contribute with.
Okay.
It's the mom and me.
The practical.
Yeah.
Down to, okay, cool. Thank you. No, thank you for reminding me. I keep forgetting. So now, well, it's time to invite the first guest, and we're gonna add her to the stream right now. Welcome, Meg Grant.
Hi, Meg.
Hi, guys.
How are you?
Pretty good. It's the middle of the day here in California, and it's a beautiful day. So, yeah, despite all the weird stuff that's going on in the world right now, thank you for acknowledging that. It's it is a beautiful day.
At least that.
You know, as people who try to make the world a better place a little bit every day, you know, we wish we had the ability to make much bigger changes, but hey,
we're all trying. Yeah.
And so we are very excited to learn about what you do. You do a lot of very interesting projects, but I don't want to kind of take away from your presentation. So you prepare share your presentation, and we're going to go through it, and then at the end we'll ask you some questions, and then the audience will probably have questions as well.
Okay. All right. So I'm going to share my screen, and just let me know when it's up.
I think I see it now.
Picture of me staring creepily into the camera.
Okay. Yeah, look at that.
Great. Okay, shall I start?
Yeah, so please tell us a little bit more about yourself. You have a presentation, so
yeah,
I saw some of your projects are cool stuff, so I'm not gonna steal your thunder.
Okay, so I'll get into it. I have a few projects to share, and I wanted to talk about really sort of the journey of learning by making stuff and where that's taken me. And hopefully it can be inspiring to other people. So I live in San Francisco in California, and I'm an e-textile technologist. Kind of a niche job, so I thought I'd describe a little bit what an e-textile technologist is and what are e-textiles. So e-textiles are electronic textiles, and I like to define it really broadly. That's anything that has both electronic and textile functionality. And so electronic functionality, of course, we're probably pretty familiar with: sensing, actuating, lighting, heating, connecting, conducting, energy harvesting, all those things that we can do with electronics, but then embedded into a material that has textile properties. So textile properties are conformability, flexibility, softness. Often they're wearable, but not always. And they're sometimes washable, but not always. And electronic functionality can be embedded into textiles in a bunch of different ways. You can make functional yarns and weave them or knit them into textiles. Textiles can be treated with post-production processes that add some kind of functionality, conductivity, or piezo-resistive properties. And then in the last sort of 7 or 8 years, we've seen a lot of really cool stuff coming out of the materials developers with functional inks. So on the right here is an image of a printed heater that's been printed onto TPU, and this can get laminated into textile. So TPU is thermoplastic polyurethane. So all of these things are what I consider e-textiles. So how did I start working with e-textiles? I studied fashion design, but I worked for a really long time as a front-end developer, so I was really comfortable with coding. And I did actually come to it through Arduino. I was introduced to the LilyPad just after it came out, and I fell in love. I was like, finally I can put my digital world into textiles. But I started out just by building stuff. So that's why I wanted to talk about learning through building. I sort of came up with some ideas how I could work with these materials. And one of them was the Secret Keeper gloves. This is a pair of gloves that has the ability to record and playback sound. So if you have a secret, you can clasp your hands together and activate the circuit by holding your hands in that position and record the secret, and then you can play it back by cupping your hand around your ear. So you activating the switches in the circuit by pressing the conductive embroidery together. And this actually uses a commercial greeting card recording and playback circuit, so a really cheap circuit, I think, that was designed in the 70s. And I just cut it apart. Poor little guy, you see him in the corner there, didn't know what was coming, and made it smaller, and I removed the batteries, put them in a different part of the prototype. So I think this is a really great way to get started with electronics, as well as to just take something that works and mess with it and hope that it still works when you're finished. So another project that I wanted to share, I learned a lot through making this dress. It's a dress that has 160 individually addressable piezo speakers embedded in the sequins. And the piezo speakers are little brass discs. I drilled a hole in them and sewed them to a ground plane of the dress. So the ground plane is made of conductive yarn. It's gold-plated conductive yarn. And then the rest of it is sort of a really lightweight cable harness using enamel-coated Litz wire. So these are really fine wires that are very robust. And I did actually use an Arduino Mini for this. You can see it in the last image there. This dress, when you wear it, it makes the wearer feel like she's surrounded by sound. And I kind of made it because I just wanted to use this technology. And the thing that I learned from making this dress is that sometimes you can achieve really a lot by not understanding how much work it is to do what you are about to do. So this took me about 10 times longer than I expected it to, but it was worth it. It's a really nice piece. And the last of my personal projects I wanted to share is actually a collaboration with Anja Hertenberger, a media artist from the Netherlands. And she and I had some conductive lace made at a lace factory museum in the Netherlands. And we worked with the lace to make it into pressure sensors. So there are 3 of these dresses, and each of the dresses has a poem embroidered onto it. And when the wearer presses on the sensors, she can hear the poem being read through the little speakers. You can see the speakers on the shoulder there. Each of the dresses is different, and the sensors are placed on the body to encourage the wearer to make a certain gesture that's associated with the sentiment in the poem. And one of our objectives with this dress was to make a truly e-textile dress. So all of the circuits are embroidered from conductive yarns where they can be. Some of the audio circuits make that difficult because of the noise on conductive yarn, but we made a little jacket for the Arduino, and it is removable so the dresses can be washed, and it snaps on with these metal conductive snaps so that the connections to the Arduino and the dress are made with those snaps. So after working on those personal projects, that you'll notice that a lot of them have a lot of handwork involved. I made a move to San Francisco, and I decided to change my focus to work on more products and mass-produced e-textile and wearable technology products. So I was lucky enough to be hired by an engineering company called TE Connectivity that was working with Google on Project Jacquard. And we worked with them on the connectivity in their Levi's commuter jacket. So this is the denim jacket that has the sensor in the sleeve that allows you to connect to your mobile phone. And that was an amazing project to work on, and really some really smart people. I felt really privileged to work on that. After that project, I went to work for a startup called Seismic. Another incredible experience. I feel really lucky to be included in these projects. Seismic makes an exoskeleton that was originally developed as a US military project for allowing soldiers to carry heavier loads for longer distances with less fatigue. It's like wearing the wearable electric bike. So it actually pulls on your, along with your muscles to help you to move. And Seismic's customers are the senior aging population. So anybody that has muscle weakness can benefit from this technology. After working at Seismic, I went on to work with Bebop Sensors, and I worked on their data glove project. So this is a glove that uses an e-textile as a bend and pressure sensor to capture the motion of the hand for AR and VR applications. That was a really interesting project. So what I'm doing now, so the last slide, was lucky enough to be accepted into the residency program at Autodesk here in San Francisco. And this is a program for startups and development teams to use the facilities. They have incredible machines, an amazing team, and great community there. I started at the end of last year working on eventually it will be a series of e-textile components. I'm starting with an interconnect. Unfortunately can't show anything just yet, but I'd love to come back and share my project once I have something I can show. So hopefully making e-textile development easier and faster, so that we can start to see some of these textiles in our daily lives pretty soon. So thanks for listening. That's my presentation.
Oh, wow. Very nice project. Love the project. Very good.
They're gorgeous too. Like such high quality.
Thanks. I think it's really important to take care in the finishing and craftsmanship of a project. If you're going to spend all that time, then certainly some of my earlier prototypes can be held together with duct tape, but the eventual prototype or product has to be something that is worth your time. Yeah.
Yeah, I was very interested in that comment you made. Was very interesting. The one that, in the end, you didn't realize how complicated things were. So you, in a way, I noticed that seems to be also the way a lot of interesting projects start, because since you don't know how complex it is, you jump into it. Yeah. So that dress took, how long did it take to do it?
I kind of stopped counting, but it was, I think I worked on it full time for at least 3 weeks, but probably longer. It's like childbirth, right? You forget. And so, so I hear.
Not true.
Right. Yeah, but I like to think of it as sort of, power through stupidity or something. Like I never would have started making that dress if I wasn't stupid enough to think that it was going to take me just a few weeks.
No, but you make a very good point, because that is actually, in my experience, a lot of very interesting projects, but even important inventions happened because the people who worked on it didn't know enough about the subject, so they underestimated the complexity and they jumped right into it, and then they said, hey, I'll have to finish this.
Yeah.
And then suddenly, they figure it out, And see this, so this quote unquote not knowing about what you're going to face is actually a big driver for innovation.
Yeah, I agree. There is a sort of a phenomenon that happens though when a process is really easy to imagine or easy to describe. Everybody underestimates the amount of time that it takes, and you see this a lot in, I think, a lot of wearable technology projects fall victim to this because people think that clothing is simple because we wear it every day and we're very familiar with it, but it's actually performing all of these really complex functions, keeping us warm, hiding our nakedness, social signaling, psychological functions. Clothing, when people talk about making clothing functional, I always have to roll my eyes a bit because clothing is already extremely functional, and you can certainly add functionality to it, but it already has so much functionality in it, everything we wear.
Mm-hmm. So I was thinking, so after you worked on all these projects, what's exciting for you now? So what are you exploring? What are you looking at?
So I've really fallen in love with some of the materials that are being developed. I've seen, the conductive threads that we're all familiar with. When you used to ask the materials companies if you could wash them, they would just be like, oh, no, why would we do that? And now they've developed them to be washable. The most exciting commercial products that I love at the moment are those functional inks. So the screen printing inks that have different semiconductor properties. Oh. They can be printed heaters, OLEDs, resistors, capacitors. You can print a lot of different components. And if you can imagine, printing this onto really thin film, flexible films and laminates, suddenly you can put circuits, almost anywhere, and they can be body friendly. They can be lightweight, so they'll take up less, power if they need to be moved. But just the materials themselves are incredible, and I have so much respect for the people who can develop those. That's outside of my expertise totally, but I'd love to use those materials.
Very nice. By any chance, have you ever worked with Bar Conductive, the ink?
Yeah, so I'm familiar with it. I haven't worked with it because I don't believe you can put it into a washing machine, and that's one of the things that, for me, it's not a deal breaker, but I do a lot of laundry, and at any given time, like at the moment, I've got a bunch of samples. Every laundry cycle, I throw in a bag of electronics and then test them to see if they survive. A lot of stuff does really well. I've washed an Arduino, and that survives the washing machine.
Wow.
I really liked your comment where you said about e-textiles, which are not necessarily always wearables. And I think when people say e-textiles, like the first thing that people think about is wearables. So I was curious if there was projects that are not wearable that you've been involved in, or I don't know, or something that you're thinking about, just to give people a sense of variety of e-textiles.
Yeah. So I have only been working with wearable textiles. However, I know there's interesting work happening in the automotive industry because e-textile circuits are lightweight, and if you have an electric vehicle, you want to save weight because then you save power. So that's something that I'm excitedly watching to see, what kinds of things are going to be embedded in our cars. If you think about the inside of a car, it's all textile. There are very few parts inside a car that are not covered in textile. So there's that. And then I believe there's some aerospace stuff happening with, again, the lightweight properties of textiles that, you want to decrease the payload when you send something into space. Oh, yeah. So I think there are solar arrays that are using perhaps not e-textiles per se, but textile technology. There are some really nice silver and gold plated Kevlars that are sold to the aerospace industry that I've got my hands on a few of them. They're really expensive. I just ask for free samples, but they're really nice, robust materials as well. So there's a couple of examples there.
Wow, that sounds very interesting. Yeah. So for now, we're going to take a little break, and because we have another segment in the show. But so I loved your presentation, loved your project. Please stick around because people will probably ask other questions in the comments. So we'll bring you back later if there's some answers, and also, you know, you can say goodbye to the audience. And so thank you for this. I'll send you back to the green room for a bit, and I'll see you later. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you.
Love those projects.
Yeah, super
Very
cool.
nice.
And very so beautiful.
Yeah, totally. No, there's some very interesting stuff. Anyway, yeah. Also, I like that you said, maybe I come back to show please come back to show the results.
Yeah, I want to see the other ones, definitely.
I want to see. All right, so now we wanted to show you a couple of things. So first of all, I want to remind you that the discount code for tonight, and it's valid only for 24 hours, it's Stockholm, because one of the guests has a connection with Stockholm, and it's not my Vasa snacks. So remember Stockholm for the next 24 hours. You get a discount if you go to the Arduino website store and you buy something and you put it in Stockholm, all in caps, and you'll be good to always all in caps.
Always in caps, yeah.
In fact, like, you know, the person who generates this code is a boomer. He likes everything in caps. No,
case sensitive.
Joking, sorry. Okay, so now we have this little short 1 minute thing where we get some people working for Arduino to tell us something we didn't know about Arduino. The funny part is that sometimes I don't even know about this. I actually like it. So we have our young hardware engineer, Arturo, explaining something that has to do with, well, he's going to explain it to you.
Cool.
Did you know that on all SAMD21 baseboards, you can change the running sketch by simply using a microSD card? You just have to wire a microSD adapter or a shield, put the SD on, reset the board, and magic, the sketch changed. To do this, you just have to use the SDU library that stands for Secure Digital Update, including the SDU library in your sketch. Then you have to export a compiled binary called update.bin, put it on an SD card, reset the board, and then the sketch will be updated at boot. In this way, you can change your application that is on field without having OTA or any kind of connection. You just have to go there, insert your SD card, and the magic is done. Enjoy!
See, I didn't know you could do that.
Idea. I had no idea. So
I guess things
and
you
those
learn.
are available online too, right? These are also going on the Arduino.
Yeah. So later, like tomorrow, they will go to the Arduino YouTube channel. So they will be indexed there, and yeah. So it's going to happen tomorrow because today, actually, all the Italians who work for Arduino are on holiday because it's the day that Italians celebrate the creation of their republic. But me and Benedetta are both Italians abroad. We don't.
We should have been wearing like a Italian flag shirt or something. We're being very unpatriotic.
You know, we just say hi from afar.
Yep.
Very fun. Okay, so the next thing we wanted to talk about is that we have a nice little video that to talk about this project that you could, we talked about a number of times that you can actually build projects using the Arduino Cloud and Alexa, and then Fabrizio built this thing. He was part of the cloud development team. He extended the functionality of that to add this. They call them like home automation types in Amazon Alexa sort of language. So they added the TV object so that you can actually change the channel, volume, everything else. So let's see.
Just super useful.
This video is the first one. So let's start with this.
Hi people, my name is Fabrizio and I'm working for Arduino as a senior software engineer and a Scrum Master for the Arduino IoT Cloud team. And today I'm very glad to be here at Bar Arduino to show you how to solve a very common problem. How to control your TV simply using your voice. Basically, my problem is that too often I want to control my TV without using its own remote control. And the reasons are many. For example, my hands are busy washing dishes or cooking, or I just can't find the remote control. So the idea is to use my voice to control the TV. But how we can do that? Well, the answer is pretty simple. We want to use an Arduino board to emulate the actual remote control. A remote control basically is a simple device that sends infrared signals to perform operations like switch on and off, set channels, adjust volume, and so on. So it's very easy to emulate this behavior using an Arduino. And with the power of IoT Cloud, we can also leverage Alexa. So it means that basically you can use any kind of Amazon Echo device and a very simple Arduino circuit to control your TV. Actually, you can control any kind of infrared controlled device, not just TVs. And what we need here is basically a TV, any kind of Amazon Echo device, the official Arduino Alexa skill, a Wi-Fi capable Arduino board supported by IoT Cloud, an infrared receiver, and an infrared transmitter. The first step is to grab signals sent by its own real remote control. And in order to do that, what we need to do is to upload to our board a specific listener sketch that listens for infrared signals using a proper infrared receiver, and then saves those signals in order to use them for our needs. And what we want to do is to send this recorded signal to control the TV without using the actual remote control. The next step is to set up a proper thing using Arduino IoT Cloud. This operation, it's easy as well. Just add a new thing and add a new property with type television. If you click on Edit Sketch, you will see a sketch boilerplate you'll have to fill in order to send commands using the infrared transmitter. You can use the IR remote Arduino library to do that. And now you have to search and install the Arduino skill through the Alexa skill store. And after you have configured it, you need to search for the TV, and once you find it, add it as a device. And we are basically done. Demo time.
Right, now we have the demo.
Alexa, turn the TV on. Alexa, turn the volume up on the TV.
Alexa, mute the TV. Alexa, previous channel on the TV. Alexa, unmute the TV. Alexa, turn the volume down on the TV. Alexa, go to the channel 1 on the TV. Alexa, switch off the TV.
Wow.
I forgot how bad Italian television is.
Yes, you had a nice sample of
Yeah, I was like, oh my God.
South American telenovela.
Dubbed, though, dubbed, because that's the amazing part about Italian TV.
Dubbed, always dubbed.
Always dubbed.
Italians are terrible at speaking English because they never hear that, while other countries, they have that all the time and they learn English magic. Anyway, so no, I think what's interesting is that at the end of the day, the hardware is an Arduino Nano IoT and an infrared emitter. That's it. That's the whole thing. You need to do this. So it's a great project. The code and I guess is available on Project Hub. So creator.arduino.cc/Project Hub. And yeah, it's somebody says it's a bit slow, but if you imagine you speak, Alexa has to understand, send it to the cloud, go to the Arduino cloud, send the message, send it back to the Arduino. It has to generate an infrared sequence.
Like it was more responsive than my Alexa doing basic tasks, like looking stuff up on its own. But yeah, years ago, like a lot of assisted living facilities were asking for this type of hack actually for the aging population so that they were able to actually just voice command.
Yeah, actually, one of the nice thing that we realized is that after we added this Alexa support for the Arduino Cloud, you can actually now build a ton of things for people who have limited mobility or other disability. You can actually build them yourself, custom for whatever disability the person has, and you can do voice control. So yeah, that was fantastic. So now we are gonna figure out why the code today is
Stockholm.
Okay, Professor. I want to. Yes.
All in caps. All in caps.
All in caps. Boomer style. So we have our next guest.
Hi, Mattias.
From Sweden. Hello.
Hello. And hi, everyone on chat.
Thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you for having me.
You are well known on some internet places as engineerish.
Yeah, in some places maybe.
In some places. Okay, I'll let Benny kind of continue the chat.
Well, I'll do my usual horrible introduction, but yeah, I know Mattias from his YouTube channel, Engineerish, where you can see a lot of really awesome and informative videos on really cool projects. And so I think today he'll talk to us about one of his previous projects. I think you define yourself as a maker. So
maybe.
Sometimes somebody who makes really cool stuff and documents it really, really well. So I think that's a really, I encourage everybody who hasn't, if they haven't seen your videos, to go check them out. I recommend them all the time to my students. So yeah, so let's see what project you want to talk to us about. And if you have some slides or some specific things you want to share.
I do have some slide. It just so happens. Can you see my screen now?
No.
There we go.
We will.
Over here.
There we go. All right. My name is Mattias Jähnke. I'm from Stockholm, hence the code, maybe, if I guessed correctly. And by day, I'm a tech manager at a software engineering company, and I try to be a maker at night. So who am I? I got into programming as a kid, started with learning JavaScript. And from there, I've studied computer science, and my career has taken me all the way from Java and C# ASP.NET to Objective-C and Swift for iOS development. And that's where I've spent most of my professional career, being an iOS developer. And aside from working with software development, I've always tried to have side projects that I work on in the evenings. And this has been a great way for me to learn new technologies or new programming languages and so on. And I think that programming as a hobby became a really big part of my life when I discovered Arduino a couple of years back. And that hobby then later spawned this engineerish project with Instagram and YouTube channels. So I've heard many people over the years saying that, yeah, I've been opening up electronic devices since my childhood because I wanted to understand how they work on the inside, and I've never done that because I don't know, I don't think it has interested me necessarily. I chose to focus on the software part of technology and figuring that hardware was just an enabler of software. But one day I had a problem with my turntable, and I figured, how hard can it be? So I decided to opening up, and I bought a soldering iron in order to change one of the cables. And that's kind of where it all started. I realized that there is no kind of black magic to electronics. So I decided to buy an Arduino start kit. And I did all the example projects in the book, trying to remember kind of the basics of electronics from school. And I immediately fell in love with Arduino and hardware tinkering. And I realized that it was basically like writing software, but you can bring out your ideas from a computer screen or a phone screen out to the real world. And there are so many electronic components that you can get, and that it was so awesome because it's basically building blocks that you can add to your projects, like sound or a distance sensor capability or something, so you can really expand your projects. It's like adding libraries to software. So my first project was actually this guitar to the right here, which was it uses a distance sensor and a piezo speaker, and depending on the distance, it would play a certain note. And I was over the moon over my creation, and I felt the need that I needed to show someone how amazing this was, that I've created something with hardware. And my girlfriend was definitely supportive, but she didn't quite realize how amazing this was. So I still had the kind of that urge to share it with the world. So I figured I would start a blog to show the world my creations. And after a few posts, I realized that blogging is a lot of work, and it's really hard to show all of the aspects of project through text. It's a difficult craft to do. And so I decided to create this Instagram account that I called Engineerish, because I never got a degree from university, so I'm almost an engineer. And on Instagram, I found this amazing community of makers all over the world, in which I started engaging and drew inspiration from. After a while, Instagram started to feel a bit limiting, and I got interested in videography, so I started a YouTube channel where I will try to show off my builds and hopefully inspire someone along the way to pick this up as a hobby, because I think it's amazing. And I always try to publish the source code and the schematics to my project so that others can just download it and try it out and improve on my hacks, because they're often hacks. And these are the types of projects that I do. I come up with an idea that I find interesting. It's often a programming problem, maybe, and then I try to build a project around that programming problem. So, for example, I got into 3D printing, which enabled me to build this huge 7-segment display there to the left. I've created a light rod with NeoPixels that allows you to kind of paint with light using a slow shutter speed camera. And the recently released collaboration with you guys, the time-telling phone using Arduino. So as for kind of a main project that I chose was this matrix painter, which is another project. And I got very nervous when I read on social media that you said I would demo this project. Because, I mean, I made this over 2 years ago. So the prototype, because that's a typical stage I often kind of abandon my projects. This was disassembled long ago. But I actually managed to put it back together. So what this project is a couple of LED matrices on which you can paint using your computer or your iPhone. So in this project, I got to incorporate processing, which I think is super fun. And later on then iOS development to be able to control these matrices wirelessly. So for me, this was the perfect project. It was a lot of programming. And I think the reason I also chose it is because it was one of the most shared videos off of my Instagram account. So apparently more people than me found it cool. But I will demo, given that like I'm now built this today. So I'm using processing and my mouse to kind of draw. And it doesn't really show, but there's still some dedication behind finding the source code and the components necessary. So yeah, and this was the phone addition to the project that added a TCP server to the processing app on which an iOS app could connect to. And more information about like the Matrix Painter and all of my other projects are available on YouTube or Instagram, or you can email me if you have questions about them. Thank you very much.
That's awesome. So you were able to recreate your project 2 years later?
Yeah.
That's an accomplishment in and of itself.
I was surprised how well it still functioned. Yeah, I even got the iPhone app to work, but that took some more tinkering.
That is super cool. I feel like everybody sort of abandons things, and then you never kind of get a chance to go back and retry it, or unless someone else does, somewhere else, and then you're called to kind of make changes to your code.
Yeah, right. So this was a great opportunity.
And I think one of the reasons, maybe, I don't know, I'm assuming, but I feel like one of the reasons why maybe this was one of the most shared videos is because working with those Max chips, it's not the most intuitive, component ever. And it's one of those things that everybody at some point gets called to do, whether you have, you're working with matrices or a lot of LEDs, or you're trying to kind of expand. And so it's hard to find, documentation where things are actually really well and thoroughly explained. So, you clearly did that very successfully. So thank you for documenting that. It's funny because, I feel like we have like completely opposite perspectives. I'm a horrible coder, and the only reason why I program is at the service of the hardware and not vice versa, which is instead how you got involved. So it's super interesting to hear a different path, a different journey.
Yeah, and I think it's also super inspiring seeing the previous projects that we've seen here. I think the second one with the Alexa is kind of around my ballpark of prototyping. But the first one was super inspiring with like production ready stuff. Like none of my things are production ready. It's a hack at the most. But that's what I enjoy doing. So you should do what you love.
Yeah, but I think that, like, you know, in this sort of mountain of documentation out there, I think it's becoming really hard for people to find solid documentation and tutorials that really kind of spell things out and show things clearly. And, you know, I see, especially with the generation of students that I have now, everybody is watching YouTube videos, which is not at all how I learned the stuff or how I got introduced to it. I actually don't, I feel like I would struggle in that environment. And so I never know how to send them, you know, resources that are actually helpful until I found your documentation. So
thank you.
Awesome.
I think I find YouTube so inspiring because there are so many great people out there that make amazing projects. So for me, it's a source of inspiration, really.
What do you got in your desk right now?
On my desk right now, I think nothing right now. There's a Raspberry Pi with Home Assistant setup, and I think that will be my next adventure is to get into to home automation.
Cool. That's
nice. Sorry, I'm responding to some messages on.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, people are really excited.
It's interesting. This word came up a couple of times. This idea of inspiring, and I think that's something very important when a lot of people sometimes have a block. They feel they can't do things, and they need to see people like you. That they look at you, they see your project, and they think, hey, you know, I can do that. I can do that. If that guy, you know, can do it, I can do it. You know, so that's why one of the things that we try to do here in this show is to bring people like you and telling the story of people like Meg, tell the stories so that people can identify, be inspired, and then try.
Yeah, I think that's great.
Wow.
I very often use engineerish as a term also, because I feel like anybody who does not have a full, you know, engineering sort of degree, but it does the stuff, finds themselves in this weird position where.
Yeah. I never finished university either. You know, it's full of us. Mm-hmm. Not everybody went through a lot of these different degrees like you, by name.
No, my degrees are all useless. So I feel like I have the weirdest collection of degrees ever. You know, I went to art school, so.
Yeah, they are so useless that you are a professor at New York University.
Somehow.
And that, you know, come on.
All thanks to this, really. It's true. Because the only reason why I started teaching is because I started teaching physical computing. So.
I remember. So yeah, no, great. So I guess now why is so? I wanted to ask. So why home automation? Is it something that people get excited about? Are you excited about this, or?
It actually has to do with moving. So getting a new place where I did some videos about some home automation. I've already started with like Philips Hue, but I think I want to explore a bit more of what you can do with home automation. I've seen some amazing stuff on YouTube where you can actually save energy or have a more eco-friendly home by automating some of the heating, for example. So I really want to look into what you can do with the home automation if you go beyond kind of the smart lights.
Very cool. Nice. So there was some comments on the chat. People love the projects. Some people are your followers on YouTube. There's also some Swedish people that are proud of the fact that there's a Swede on the show. They're writing in Swedish, so which is kind of when that happens.
Svensk.
Is that where you are physically right now?
Yes.
I forgot to ask.
Yeah. Okay.
In the middle of
Arduino has a big presence because in Sweden, because our kind of we have two big offices, one in Torino and one in Malmö.
Oh yeah, you do. Never been there though.
You should go there. You should go there. They would love to see you. I mean, at the moment, I think they're working from home because we have a company-wide policy of sending everybody home. Yeah, they have a nice office near the sea. So
I might stop by.
So one of our viewers, who is also Ubi the Fair,
a family friend.
friend of the family, who says, Mattias, you should check out the Philips Hue with Arduino IoT Cloud, Node-RED on Raspberry Pi. So I think Ubi demonstrated that a couple of shows ago, where you can actually run Node-RED on a Pi, and then Node-RED has a module that we built that can talk to the Arduino IoT Cloud. So you can use the Arduino IoT Cloud as some kind of a glue to kind of get all these different things talking to each other.
I'll definitely do that, Ubi. I started looking into Node-RED. It's a deep rabbit hole.
Aren't they all? No.
Yeah, but a lot of people love that. So we realized that even in industrial controls, people are using Node-RED initially for prototyping, and then it ends up even in some production projects, because it lets you kind of connect all sorts of different things together, and it's an interesting tool.
Yeah, it looked like kind of there were no limits to what it could do. So it looked quite daunting to get started, but I'm sure I'll find an inspiring YouTuber that can tell me how to get started.
Yeah, that is. I think Ubi made some tutorial somewhere.
I will
Ubi,
find
the URL of something, put it on the chat, and yeah. So this was amazing, and people love the work that you do. So keep going, keep sharing.
Will do.
And we'll always send you some new stuff to play with.
Yeah, that's great. I like playing and then tinkering with new hardware.
Yeah, we can definitely send you more of that. So we are actually towards the end of the show. So we wanted to remind people that the code is please say Stockholm in the proper way.
Stockholm.
Okay. There are some Swedish cities that are a little bit more difficult to pronounce.
I think Stockholm is it's a pretty good international name. It works.
Nice. So you can use the code Stockholm for the next 24 hours to get a discount on something you buy from the store. And then the other thing that I wanted to remind people is that there is this interesting
competition
contest called Touch Less, Do More that we organized. There's a lot of projects coming in. You can also apply to get free hardware to participate in the competition. The prizes there's quite a few prizes offered by Avnet. One of the very interesting thing about this competition is that Avnet brought in one of their companies, which is called Dragon Innovation, who is a company that helps people go from their idea to an actual manufacturing and production of their idea as a product. So they guide you through that process, because the idea for this competition was to even help the people who come up with ideas to actually put them into production and have them as a final product. Actually, while we are here, why don't we add Meg back to the streaming? Hi. So we were talking about this competition.
Yes.
If you have some time, Meg, have a look at it. There's some interesting prices, but again, what I was mentioning is that it is a very nice. We're trying to help people once they're done with the competition, take it to a final product, maybe kind of build something out of it, because we think there is a lot of opportunities. I guess in this kind of post-COVID-19, where you kind of have to change the way you interact with things, probably this whole kind of textile and wearable is probably an interesting area, like even starting with the mask that could,
Yeah, I'd like to see a mask that projects your face onto itself so that you don't look like you're wearing it, but it'll probably look super creepy.
Can be creepier than just regular masks, though.
True.
Yeah, so the audience is asking, is Mattias drinking whiskey?
No, he's drinking beer.
Beer.
It is Tuesday after all.
Whiskey.
All right. So thank you very much for taking part. We love that you took the time. And Meg, we'll when you have something that you can show about the project you're doing,
please come back.
We'll have you back.
I'd love to. Thank you.
And so,
thank you very much.
So you have like a few seconds to say hi to the audience. Let's start with Meg, if you want to say hi to the audience.
Oh, I couldn't, 2 seconds. Oh, it's already gone. I wanted to say hi to Ubi and Angelica. I couldn't comment in the chat, but I wanted to say ciao to you guys.
Nice. Mattias?
No, I just want to say thank you for listening. It's awesome to get some more real-time interaction with your audience, other than the more asynchronous conversations that happens over Instagram and YouTube.
Yeah, it was nice because the audience had very nice comments for both of you, for both of the work that you do. So I'm really, really glad that you took the time to be with us tonight. And somebody says, nice haircut.
Oh, thank you. Oh, no, it's me. No, it's you.
Nice haircut. Oh, Mr. Massimo Banzi. Interesting. Well, one thing that I like about this is that normally when they interview people, when they interview women, they start to comment on their haircuts and everything else. And so you see actresses get upset about that. So finally, for once, a man was asked about their haircut, and this is great.
You have great hair.
So thank you very much for being here. Benedetta, do you want to say something?
I just want to say thank you. And obviously, as usual, it's an awesome opportunity to, like Mattias was saying, to actually connect directly with people that I've been sort of watching from afar. So thank you so much for being here. And again, I feel like I have to remind everybody to still be able to use the comments on the video if you're not watching live, so that we get to see them and get to, possibly respond or answer your questions during the next episode.
Yeah, totally. So happy Republic Day to all the Italians that are in the listening and watching live.
Come here.
And please, dear audience, live long and prosper, and try to do something to improve the world a little bit if you have the chance. And have a good night, everybody. And I only have water because I
have coffee.
Oh, every episode I wait for the kids to show up, and they always show up at the end.
Yeah, now and now I haven't trained them. This is just the serendipity.
Ciao.
She's shaking her head. I will not be trained.
No, definitely not. Which is fine. I'm all for that. Keep your wild side.
Independence.
Yeah.
All right. Thank you very much. Oh, there's a kiss. That was the perfect ending. Good night, everybody.
Good night, everyone.
Bye.
Good night. Bye bye.
Thank you.